Now let's get to the nitty gritty.
All right, we are on to the main show or the main attraction, whatever you want to call it now. Our top 10s, same thing. So my number 10, honestly, this could have been a little bit higher up on my list. The only reason it is number 10 is one, because I typically don't play this, I don't want to say style, but this setting of games. And this was also probably look at my list here. Yeah, this is probably the one game that I had to literally take breaks from playing just because it got really stressful. It's Doom Eternal. It's I forgot this came out this year too. It seems like the first and second half of the year is like felt like they should have been in 2 different years. But so with Doom Eternal, I play a little bit of Doom 2016. I don't really typically play these, rockish fight hell demons types of games. I'm just don't like being in that setting for too long because it's like I feel like I need to go like hug a puppy afterwards. But this game was really well. I was able to play it on PC, ran perfectly well, no crashes or anything. Of course, me being the gamer that I am, I was like, normal mode, please give me whatever the next hardest difficulty is. And that was a mistake because
it involves hell. Like my bad, I mean to cut you off, but any game where the difficulty involves the word hell, probably shouldn't go that route.
You shouldn't, but I was like, you know what? I put it there. I'm gonna play the game on it. I'm not gonna wuss out. Once I got the hang of it, because the interesting thing about the Doom game, which I did not really expect, I'm not gonna lie, kind of going into, I was like, okay, just shoot, dodge to that. There's actual like a freaking system to this. Like you got to kill this enemy to get ammo. You got to kill this or you got to do this type of finisher to get health. You got to do this type of finisher because you get a flamethrower on your thing. You get to throw grenade. You get 2 different types of grenades: a regular grenade and an ice grenade. So while you're like doing all this, you're like, all right, let me go shoot the gun off of this enemy. Let me go melee this enemy so I can get health. Let me go chainsaw this enemy so I can get fire for my flamethrower. Let me go burn this. Like you're thinking all that while playing, and it's just so quick, so satisfying in short bursts. Now, there are some platforming sections, which I don't know why the hell you would put platforming in a Doom game. You get a double jump, you got a wall climb. It's cool. It's all right. I understand they're probably just trying to either pad out time or, a wall climb. Pad out time or just trying to add something different. But the core gameplay is very, like I said, it's very fun. It's very addicting. It's just like probably the longest I could play this game was probably 2 hours max. Because after a while, your brain hurts, your fingers hurt, your body hurt. Feel like you're doing a workout. And overall, it's a good game. Like I said, it's just not my typical niche that I play. But that was my number 10, Doom Eternal.
So good. Yeah, I literally forgot that game came out this year. My number 10. Probably one of the most difficult games on my top 10 list. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And look, this could have definitely been higher, but it took me so long to beat this game. Not because I wasn't trying. Oh, trust me, I was trying. And you could have tested this. This game is just as hard as any other Crash Bandicoot of all time. Now, I will say this, man. Shout out to, I think it's Toy Box. That made this one. They the same ones that made, the Insane Trilogy, which was fantastic. But this was the actual sequel to Wrath of Cortex. So this is an actual number sequel Crash Bandicoot game. And look, it gives you the classic Crash, you can just go back between Crash and Coco, which I thought was good. The cutscenes, which is something that you really don't pay attention to in the Crash Bandicoot game. The cutscenes in this game was fantastic. Everybody had personality. Everybody was able to kind of like show why they are Crash mainstays. So yeah, man, for me, the very difficult, the very hair pulling Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time is my number 10 on my top 10 list.
All right. My number 9 is a game that I'm not going to say I was surprised because I like the first version or the first game in this series. Beautiful game. This game basically added on to what made it so popular on the original. My number 9 is Ori and the Will of the Wisp. If I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
So with the original Ori, you know, it was a very, you know, I like to say watercolor game. Is very, you know, very definitive art style. Wasn't much in the way of combat, but it had it. I think even the devs on this game said that they were inspired by Hollow Knight because there's a lot of Hollow Knight in this game. You get 3 different weapons. There's a massive skill tree that you get. Double jumps. You get like little I forget what you would call it. Like you can zoom across in a certain area, like slingshot yourself. The boss fights in this game are beautiful. Like because there really wasn't any boss fights in the first one.
So, quick question, real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was a boss fight or not, but I saw one instance, some gameplay. I don't know if it was like a big frog-looking creature or whatever it was, but it was basically trying to like devouring the whole stage and you at the same time.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the first boss. It basically turns into a chase sequence where you got to run and then you like get to a point and then you fight them. I died many a times to that because sometimes you don't know where to jump or if you can hang on that ledge or not. But overall, Ori is a very beautiful and emotionally charged game. Like I said, it's on Game Pass, Microsoft Studios game, so it's definitely something you should play if you're into that platformer. And like I said, there's like the combat they added, you get a different type of attack. Like if you do up or right or left or down, you get a different type of attack based on what direction. Some of those you have to do to defeat certain enemies. Music is amazing in this game as well, but that's my number 9, Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
So my number 9 is a game that just came out and me and you have discussed on numerous occasions. Actually, one of the games in the background right now, Cyberpunk 2077, is my number 9 game. And yes, look, I know it might be low for some of you, but so I'm not gonna lie, I have not beaten this game yet because I've just been going around like just doing a bunch of side stuff, which is like, if anybody knows me when it comes to video games, don't give me a bunch of side missions because I will spend more time doing side missions
than doing the main mission.
Yeah. But to me, I like games like that. Now, look, I know I said I would give Avengers, like, you know, a pass for their bugs, but Cyberpunk, you don't really get a pass because I feel like as much as this game has been, and look, I know, pressure from the fans, pressure from investors, you just had to put the game out. So to be honest with you, like, we can kind of blame ourselves. Not me, because me and you talked about it even before the game came out. However long y'all have to wait to give us the game that we want, go ahead and do it. But to be honest with you, like the only bugs that I've encountered is just like, you know, just people or cars like just popping in and popping out. Like my game has not crashed and I am playing on like, you know, the Xbox One. So, you know, not the PS5 or like, you know, a PC. So I haven't just had like the game ending bugs that a lot of people have said they've experienced. I am having fun playing this game. I've hit level 50 street cred, so that should just let you know right there, like how much I've just be playing the game. So when things come together and I actually like put my 100 hours or so into the game, I'll be able to better like express how I feel about it. But it does make my top 10 because, like I said, I am enjoying it. I am a fan of open world games. Keanu Reeves is fantastic. Johnny Silverhand, and yeah, man, CDR, you know, it's. That was under a lot of pressure too coming out after The Witcher 3. So to be honest with you, it was gonna be an issue with this game regardless. But my number 9, Cyberpunk 2077. What is your number 8, sir?
Well, my number 8, and we'll definitely be talking about Cyberpunk in a little bit more here. My number 8 was a game that I was super excited for. Sequel to one of my favorite game franchises of all time. Some of the best music has come out of the previous games in this series. My number 8 is Streets of Rage 4. The reason this is on my list and Battletoads isn't is one, because it is a continuation of Streets of Rage 3, even though I feel I have some qualms with the story. For some reason, Skate he isn't mentioned, but there's some other stuff that could have went in there. First off, gameplay is fantastic. I love the addition of Cherry. you can do crazy combos with her. I've seen videos of people doing like 100-hit combos with Blaze. Granted, it's like in the little versus menu, but it's still the versus mode. But I've seen some crazy stuff done in this game. Music's amazing in this game. It's pretty much what you expect. To beat 'em up, straight, 1 and 2. You can play as the old characters as you unlock them. So you can play as Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3 characters, which I really think is really good and really cool. So my main issue with the game is that I don't feel like... And when did Streets of Rage 3 come out? 97, 8-ish?
Yeah, I was like 97.
Somewhere in the late 90s. So about 22 years ago, something like that, if my math is correct.
Yeah. I'm looking it up now.
About 21, 22 years ago. I don't feel like this game pushed the beat 'em up genre forward as it should.
Oh wow. My 94.
Oh, 94. Okay, so almost three decades, pretty much.
Wow.
I feel like this game could have pushed it forward because some of my other favorite beat 'em up games, Charlie Murder, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I love those games because they gave you options inside. Like you could pick up different weapons, you could pick up things that can, boost your character. You can add some stuff to make the game harder and things like that. Streets of Rage is basically like, all right, stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then like you fight the children of Mr. X, and I just feel like
the last boss fight.
Yeah, it was very, I won't spoil it. There's a secret boss fight on one of the stages where you fight an old character from the game, which I thought was cool. It was all right, but other than that, I was just like, man, there's so much more that could have been done with this game. I do know they did have some instances where you could go into like certain arcade rooms and fight old bosses from the game, like the little Blanca character from Streets of Rage 2 was a secret boss fight. I forget who else, but there are some. So that was cool. I played those. Those were amazing. But I just feel like 30 years, you've had plenty of games that came out in this genre. Like you could have did more. So hopefully, if there is a Streets of Rage 5, or if they decide to rename it or do something else, that they do something that just pushes the genre more. I mean, we've seen, for instance, like first-person shooters evolve into battle royales now. Things like that, where you can take something that's already been done and just add more into it to make it a new experience or a more pleasurable experience than what's been done for the past 30, 40 years. But that's my number 8, Streets of Rage 4.
So, the funny part about that is that's actually my number 8.
Oh, that's crazy.
Definitely.
For y'all watching, we don't go over what's on our top 10. It's like before we start recording, some of the games in our like games to play and honorable mentions you heard us mention, but we don't know what's going to be on each other's top 10 until we actually like say it ourselves. So that's actually pretty crazy. That's both our number 8s.
Yeah, that's actually my number 8 as well. I mean, like I enjoyed it. I mean, as you know, I literally listen to like the menu music for Streets of Rage 4. It's literally saved on my phone. Like I can literally just sit there at the menu and just listen to it. So the soundtracks and everything, like I said, just kind of echo like everything you said. You're absolutely right.
I mean to cut you off. The Streets of Rage 4 soundtrack is on Spotify too.
So I need to go ahead and you know what I'm saying, like save the whole soundtrack. But I mean, I like some of the enemies. Shout out to the enemies. Representing Orange Cassidy with their hand in their pockets and they just going around.
I hated those so
bro.
much.
They are so cold, bro. It's ridiculous. But it makes me laugh every time because every time I see them with their hand in their pocket, I just think about Orange Cassidy. But yeah, man. Shout out to Fat Axel, which is fantastic. Now, like you did say, you can't go back and play with like the OG, you know what I'm saying, Streets of Rage characters. Now, when you do that, just remember the special moves and everything is like the OG, you know what I'm saying, Streets of Rage characters as well.
And also, they didn't have sprint either. So, well, the Streets of Rage 1 characters didn't have sprint.
Yeah. So that was a little annoying, but yeah, my number 8 is Streets of Rage 4. So that's funny.
That is very funny.
That is funny.
All right, so for my number 7, this is another sequel in a series that I really love. The first 2 entries of this series dating back to the GameCube and the N64. Overall, I really enjoyed this game. It's Paper Mario, the Origami King. I'm a huge Paper Mario fan. Huge Paper Mario and Mario RPG fan are probably my favorite games in the Mario series overall. Next is like Smash Brothers. So this game was pretty fun. Again, the kingdom is under attack from some origami, demon from outer space. Of course, it's Mario's job to save Princess and everybody. Oddly enough, I kind of get some mixed vibes from this game. So this game, at least I'm probably like a good 10 to 15 hours in. So I'm probably almost a little over halfway done with the game. This game is very handholdy, which I have an issue with. Like, I understand it's a Nintendo game, it's a Switch game, it's probably targeted more towards kids. I get all that, but like the first 3 to 4 hours is basically just like, hey, do this. Hey, there's this boss battle. Hey, you should do this and jump on this. I'm like, thanks. I can kind of put 2 and 2 together and figure that out. I kind of wish there was a way you could turn that off, or just like, hey, I'm over the age of 18. I've played a video game before. I know, how to attack. The humor in the game is pretty much Mario humor at its best. So it's very funny if you're into that kind of kiddish humor. I will say, there's some parts in this game that could be a little bit creepy. Like at the beginning of the game, so basically what the main villain does, he turns everything into like origami versions of themselves. So he like turns into paper and they're like origami versions. So when you like go to Princess Peach's castle after it's been taken over, there's like a little eerie, it gets really like horror movie creepy-esque, because like you'll see like Peach with like soulless eyes, and like her dialogue lines are like squiggly and jump in like it's a horror movie or something like that, and there's like this little eerie suspense strings in the background, and I'm like, I don't know if this is supposed to be kid friendly. Like, I'm a little nerved out, and I'm like, 30-year-old adult, so I'm just like, I don't know if this is supposed to be for kids or not. But the combat, now the main difference with this one as opposed to the other ones, it is turn-based combat. So the way the combat works is like it's on this spherical circle. I don't know. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. So thank you. So the way it's supposed to work, you're supposed to line up your opponents. So let's say that you're in the middle, Mario, and then you have like 5 enemies on this side, 5 enemies on this side. You can turn the circle clockwise to line them all up, and then you can like move it forward and back to push them into a line. That way, when you attack, if you attack 4 in a row, you get a damage bonus and things like that. Now, when it's a boss battle, it's reversed. So the boss is in the middle, and then Mario has to like hop on points to get to a certain boss's, weakness, or things like that. But the thing about it is like it's arrows. So like if you take an arrow somewhere you're not supposed to go, you can totally just mess up your turn. So you got to do a lot of pre-planning when it comes to boss fights, which is cool. It's also a little like, all right, this is kind of annoying as well. But overall, it's typical Mario fare. You got to collect stuff, unlock stuff, talk to different amount. There's like an obscene amount of toads in this game. I don't know if all Mario games have been like that, but I swear, like within the first 15 hours, I've seen like over 2,000 toads. It's just weird, but overall, it's a fun game. If you're a fan of Mario games, or I guess you can call this a turn-based RPG, even though it's like spherical. There we go, spherical, turn-based. But that's my number 7, Paper Mario, the Origami King.
Okay. Ooh, yeah, that got dark for a Mario game. Speaking of dark, my number 7 is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So I'll say this, and for those that know, Assassin's Creed is probably like one of my favorite like series, you know what I'm saying? So I was really excited about this, and the game is fun. It is fantastic. The story mode is cool. You can either play with a male or female Ivar. I mean, That's fine, but to be honest, it doesn't really just affect the story too much.
Not at all.
Like, dialogue and romance. Honestly, don't even really affect the romance choices to be maybe besides a few characters because hey, Viking time. You know what I'm saying? But the combat was, it was cool. A little bit slower when you think about like Odyssey and Origin, so it was kind of a step down, like combat wise. But like I enjoyed it. I beat the story, and I will say I am, once I kind of like went through it, still was like doing some of the side stuff. I actually still enjoyed playing the game. So I don't want disappointed would be. I'm not disappointed in the game. That's a strong word. Like I said, I love the game. It's just I didn't really like the change of pace, if that makes sense. Like I feel like it was just a little bit too slow for me, which is crazy when you think about Assassin's Creed is all about, you know what I'm saying, like being stealthy. It really wasn't no stealth. Like you're Vikings. Like ain't nothing stealthy about being a Viking
at all.
And I felt like with it being that, the combat probably could have been a little bit more brutal than it was. You know what I'm saying? If you really just wanted to like expose like that time of Viking. But I mean, it was cool, customizing the camp, getting tatted up and stuff like that. But, like I said, like playing as a male or female didn't really switch much. It didn't matter to the point to where they had it to where you could just be like, whichever one is like
more appropriate for the scene.
Yeah, so you really didn't even have to choose. You could have like literally just left it at that and just like, all right, I guess I'm playing with a male. Also, one thing that kind of annoyed me, like the way they broke it up story-wise, let's just say you encounter a character that you really like. After that chapter is done, you probably will not see that character throughout the rest of the game. So that was kind of like annoying at times, but overall though, fantastic game. You kind of also came out at the wrong time considering what I was playing while I was trying to play this. But yeah, man, my number 7, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What is your number 6?
My number 6. So this probably will not make a lot of probably most people's top 10s. It made mine's because y'all know I love JRPGs. When did this game come out? This game came out in April. So this was a nice break from the other title, which I'm sure is going to be higher on our list during that time. This is a remake of an old NES game. I want to say it's Secret of Mana 3 or 2, but Trials of Mana is my number 6. So the main thing that made me want to play this game, the Secret of Mana remake came out last year before, but it wasn't really done that well. This one, I read a lot of reviews on it before I purchased it, and I kind of tried to get an idea of what I would be getting myself into. For the most part, it's just kind of comfort food gaming is what I want to call it. Story is what it is. The kind of cool concept is like there's 6 different characters. And depending on, because you choose a party of 3, and that's your 3 throughout the whole playthrough. So there is a little bit of replayability that you can mix up, 3 of the 6. Some of them, depending on who you pick, have kind of overbranching storylines. So let's say one character has something happen in the story that's caused by a clan that another character's from, and they'll make some dialogue blurbs about it during the story once they figure it out. But overall, it's pretty much there's a mana tree, there's a big evil trying to steal the power or do it to do some evil stuff. You somehow get roped into it, and now you got to stop the evil person. You got to go consult the king to find these mana stones and all this other stuff. So pretty much straightforward, but real-time combat. So what I really like about this game is like it does a thing where like it shows the enemies on the screen. So when you run into it, bam, you're right in the battle, beat up the enemies, bam, it shows you little XP things and you right out the battle. So like there's no pause in between.
Quick.
Yeah, it's quick. That's what I really love about it. So you can kind of run through, especially if you're like in an area where you're like backtracing or backtracking, and then like you're high power, you can just go in, beat up the enemies, and just keep it moving. Don't have to worry about like wind screens or anything like that. Every 10, I think it's 12 or 10 levels, you can basically like evolve your character into a light or dark path. And there's 2 versions for the main story, and then I think for the post-game content, there's a 4th one once you reach like level 48 or 50 or something like that. So let's say you pick one character, you can go all light, or you can go all dark, or you can go light, dark, you know, things like that. Like there's a light and dark path with each tier, and you get different things and different skills and stuff like that. So it's a pretty fun game. Of course, it is a Japanese game, so the English dub is okay. You know, it's not the best. You can definitely tell this was a game meant for Japanese audiences, because some of the voice actors it's like the main 6 characters voice actors are good, and then like everybody else's is kind of meh, except for like maybe 3 or 4 of the main villains and other characters that help you out. But just like side characters, even if they have voices, aren't the best. But as I said, if you're a fan of JRPGs, it's just kind of one of those good comfort food things that you just kind of play, enjoy the music. It's for the most part, it's a pretty like happy, positive game. Oh, that's what it was. I was playing this while also playing Doom, because whenever Doom would stress me, I'd be like, all right, turn on Trials of Mana, here's some happy music. You know, all that, what is it, B major music with all those happy chords in it and everything, and then just, you know, go about town killing slimes and stuff. But but that's my number 6, Trials of Mana.
So before we started recording, I informed my brethren that my 4 through 10 order might shock them a little bit. And I think this is where it's about to start, because my number 6 game is actually The Last of Us 2.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Number 6 is The Last of Us 2. Everybody's so-called game of the year. It was cool. And this is no knock to that game at all. The game is fantastic. Basically, not much gameplay-wise really changed from the first one to the second one. And look, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? The story mode was fantastic, but divisive. You know what I'm saying? Some people love certain things about it. Some people didn't. Honestly, just wouldn't have been my game of the year, to be honest with you, because I just felt like not that much change. You really could have called it The Last of Us 1.5, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but my number 6 is The Last of Us 2. Stop hype beasting. I'll just leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really care about like the video game awards and stuff all like that, but stop hype beasting, because that's exactly what y'all did for this game.
Exactly. I will add on to that, because I'll go ahead and say it now. Last of Us 2 is not on my list. So my main qualm with the game, I got about halfway to the game. I got to the point to where you start playing as a second character, and then I just like, I'm not finishing this game. One, because of Jesse. So fuck that game because of what they did to Jesse.
Yeah.
2, my biggest issue with the game is, y'all know, when it comes to like these heavy story-driven games, I like to get really immersed in the story and, you know, for the most part, try to make it believable, which in this case, a lot of it kind of isn't, because the survivability rate that Joel and Ellie had in the first game and in this game probably is not going to happen in real life. But my main issue was kind of the writing. Like, it really felt all over the place. My main thing was like, all right, Ellie goes out on this quest, you know, for spoiler reasons, we won't say it, but she goes out on this quest. And when she's talking to Dina, she's like, man, you know, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not a killer, all this. Meanwhile, while you're playing the game, the only way you can really get past people is by killing them. This game does not give you an option to knock people out.
No.
At all. Like, you want to like stealth somebody, you grab somebody, you have to stab them. I made the mistake one time where I grabbed somebody with a gun, I accidentally hit the trigger and blew their brains out. Shocked the crap out of me. I was just like, whoa, all right. I didn't know that was gonna happen. I was just tapping the right trigger by accident. I was like, all right, well, that's a wasted bullet. And these are human enemies. Like, the zombies, cool. All right, I get that. They're zombies. Right. But the human enemies, and that's probably the one thing that, like, just did not sit well with me. Killing people in this game did not feel fun to me. It felt too real.
Yeah.
Like, too real. Like almost to the point, this was kind of like Doom, where like I could not play this game for long stretches of time because I just feel so tense. And I guess that's kind of a thing that you would want to get with a game like this to convey the story, you know, convey the environment, the immersion. But to me, it's kind of to a point where it's like, all right, you know, I've killed millions of things in video games, humans, robots, animals, all this. This is probably the only game where like I really wish they would have gave you an option, a non-lethal option, just to knock out people, tie up people, choke out people like other games give you. But for some reason, this game, yeah, Cyberpunk even gave you the issue, and like that game's pretty much all about like, yo, you know, kill everything or be killed. But that also the story, like it got to the point where like I got to that halfway point and I was just like, I do not like this story or the writing. I just watched the rest of it on YouTube, and no spoilers here, but if you've seen the end of the game, you really just think to yourself, you're just like, why? Yeah. Like, I won't say any more than that just for people who haven't played it, but once you see the ending and what transpires and what happens and the epilogue and after all that too, you're just like, why? That's all I can really say. It's just why.
And on top of that, real quick, I'll just say this though: like, you're supposed to kind of like feel sorry for Ellie, considering what does happen in this game. I don't feel no sympathy for her, man. At all. Like you said, like once you just out there just killing humans, like real violently. By the way, you know how I was talking about, you know, Assassin's Creed should have been a little bit more brutal with the Viking stuff.
It should have been like this.
Yeah, it should have been like The Last of Us too, because there was no punches pulled, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. You know what I'm saying? The story could have been done a little bit better. That's why I just also feel like people were just still like so enamored by like the first game that they was just like, oh yeah, this is definitely, you know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, this was more of the same, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That was a little bit older, if you want to be honest. And like you said, with the character switch, I felt like Metal Gear Solid 2, when I was playing the Solid Snake, the writing, and I was like, WTF.
Like, my whole main thing is, I honestly didn't even mind the character switch. It's just, there's a lot there. Like I said, my main thing is just the writing. There's a lot of points in this game where there are situations where certain characters have other certain characters in very precarious situations, and the game could have just ended there. Like, when the character switch happened, the game low-key could have just ended there if it was a different writing. But like I said, I could go on a whole rant about this, but yeah. my whole thing was just The Last of Us 2. After watching the story and figuring out what happens, I'm just like, why? Like, low-key, Last of Us really could have ended with one. I would have been much happier if this was like another character, like maybe Tommy. Well, technically you get Tommy in this story too, but I don't know, maybe some other character, something else. Maybe I don't know, something else. Maybe takes place in a different part of the world, because this takes place in Seattle.
Yeah. Do a Walking Dead, you know what I'm saying? Do like, you know, Fear the Walking Dead. You know, you can have like The Last of Us, Fear the Last of Us. Yeah. Like, you have a whole Last of Us universe or something. Exactly.
Like, let's see what's happening in Texas or in New York or Europe or something like that, since this is happening worldwide. But yeah, but I'll get off that for now. So my number 5. So this game, everybody was excited about this game. Me, so I was really excited about this game, but I also tempered my expectations for this game. Came out, you know, not to the best fanfare for certain reasons. I think this was your number 9. My number 5 is Cyberpunk 2077. The game that I had to reschedule PTO days twice for because it kept getting delayed. So I will say this. After playing this game, and I made the dumb choice. I think I was drunk at the time. So I have this game on PC and PS5/4. So I played it both on PS4, PS5, and PC. I have about maybe 10 to 15 hours on PS5 and probably about 20, 25 hours on PC. From playing this game definitely needed to be delayed. Even even with the PC, and I don't have the best PC. I have like a 2070 Super, so I can run this game on medium at 60 okay. The one thing I really enjoy about this game is I really love the story. The story has its hooks in me to where I want to know what happens next. I want to know what happens with Johnny. I want to know what happens with V. I want to know what happens with Aris. I want to know what happens with all that. Like, that's my main thing. Kind of like Dom. I'm just going around doing side stuff. I have certain builds in mind. I have one build on PC, one build on PS5. So, you know, I'm just basically going around getting points so I can get my build to a respectable OP level. So that way, once I am ready to mainline through the main story, I can just take in the story and the writing. In all honesty, when this game came out, my best hope was that it would be The Witcher just in the Cyberpunk universe. For the most part, it is. I do not know why this game is only in first person.
Except when you're in the car.
No, like I don't know why they made the decision to make this game first person only. Like, they give you this, you know, it's not the best character creator, but it's decent. You got some pretty good options. Some of the clothing in the game is pretty good, but you never see it. And I think that was probably the biggest misstep. Like, I really do feel like this game should have just been third person. Like, there's nothing, like, yeah, certain cutscenes you experience firsthand, but you could have just like cut into first person during the cutscene for that. I really feel like this game would benefit more from being in third person. The combat, I'm kind of iffy on the combat because for the most part, I can just, like, where I have my build at now, at least on PC, I can pretty much just shoot and hack. Like, you really don't even have to hack in this game for the most part. I'm just doing a hack because I want to make a hacker build because it's a cyberpunk game. The combat, I feel like could have been a lot better. I'm not a fan of the looter shooter style of just pick up everything. Cause, for instance, when you do the Maelstrom early mission where you got to go get the robot, I was basically, whenever I would fight people, I would take like 3 to 4 minutes to just loot everybody in the room, which was like, all right, cool. Breaks the immersion a little bit because I got to sit here and loot everybody. But also, like, most of the loot I'm picking up, I'm either just gonna break down for crafting materials or sell. It doesn't really feel like, I don't know, it just doesn't really feel like all that necessary. Like, you get a gun and then like 5 minutes later you get something better when this is supposed to be like a deep RPG. What I would honestly compare Cyberpunk to, it really feels like GTA but with RPG mechanics in it.
So GTA mixed with Deus Ex is what I would say that's probably a good comparison because it kind of makes me feel like Deus Ex a little bit, except more open world. Like, Deus Ex was open world, but
not as open as this.
Yeah, so I can see that, especially with the fact that, you know, you can jack people for their cars. And,
exactly,
you know.
and you're basically playing a mercenary, which is basically what you are in GTA. Like, for the most part, mercenary. But overall, I do enjoy the game. I'm honestly debating because low-key what I really want to do, because I think there's supposed to be a big patch coming out this month or February. I'm trying to debate if I want to go ahead and try to finish the game or if I want to wait for that patch, because I am really interested to see what the PS5 version of this game looks like compared to the PC version. So that's why I've just been mainly doing side stuff, kind of trying to wait to see what their game plan is for the next month or two, because the next gen versions were supposed to come out this month or next month. But overall, it's the story of the game that's really got me hooked. Everything else around it, I do feel like in the future will be fixed. In all honesty, I think what should have happened with this game, it should have been delayed. And then if it wasn't delayed, only the PC version should have came out. The console version should have been delayed or what have you, but they already showed console footage and all this. Now, I do feel like it is bad on a company to basically not show any version of the console before it comes out, or don't allow people to see the versions of a console as far as that. I honestly don't feel bad for the company at all because they brought that on themselves. But I can't really say I feel as bad as people. I'm not as mad as people are at because, like I said, I played the PC version. It's okay. It's maybe crashed on me twice, but that's because I leave my PC on like all the time. So maybe I need to restart it every 3 weeks or something. And the PS5 version, when I first played it, it was a little iffy, but after like the first 2 or 3 patches, it runs fine. You can definitely tell it's the PS4 version just on PS5 hardware. But overall, I'm really interested to see what Cyberpunk 2077 will be like this time next year. Because, you know, The Witcher 3 didn't launch with the hottest, you know, launch. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm still excited to see what it's going to be, but as for now, it's my number 5 and most questionable game of 2020, Cyberpunk 2077.
So just to kind of piggyback off of that before, you know, my number 5 is the fact that you have 3 life paths that you choose, and besides a few dialogue choices and where you start the game initially, I haven't really seen that much of a difference. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of annoying. And I think you actually text me about this. Certain missions and gameplay that they showed does not go that way in the game.
Yes. So they showed this mission already. So the first mission that you do for Dexter Deshawn when you steal the robot or whatever, they showed. I think when they originally showed it, they showed you getting killed, which you do get shot by Dexter, and that's basically the end of the first chapter. But they also showed like you fighting back and killing them. Like, you don't get that in the final game. And I actually text Dom after I got through that part. I was like, yo, when you did this happen? He was like, yeah. It's like, oh, I thought you were supposed to like get an option to kill him or something. Like, they showed that in the trailers. Like, nah, it's not in it because the story progresses and...
you see Cyberpunk pop up after you get shot.
Yeah, title screen. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, that was false advertising, but yeah, I mean, it's a good game. It's definitely even with that.
My bad. And to add on top of that, you still ain't the one that kills Dexter Deshawn.
Not at all. I was so mad about that.
I was like, come on, man. I done got shot by Mark Henry and I can't shoot this MF back, friend.
Exactly. Like, not at all. So yeah, but as I said, it's definitely a good game. I wouldn't, even without the bugs, I don't even know if I would say that it's a game of the year for me, because I do feel like there are some core mechanics that need some reworking, or at least some changes. Yeah, crafting for one, for sure.
That's why it's number 9. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see the potential in the game. It's just they haven't brought it out yet. So, yeah. Shout out to Keanu Reeves, though, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like I say, because Keanu Reeves and Johnny Silverhand just fantastic. So, my number 5, I'm a cheat, and I don't care. My number 5 was a game that was in your honorable mention, and that's Persona 5 Royale. That is my number 5 game. Yes, granted, they got it 3 years before we did, but I don't care because, to be honest with you, if you just play Persona 5 Royal and you've never played the Persona 5 base game, there will really be no reason for you to play the base game of Persona 5 because with the extra characters, you know, with the extra stages and stuff that you get a whole extra chapter. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't get that in the base game. And considering you can basically call it like a definitive edition of Persona 5 when you go back and look at it, this is a perfect example of what that looks like. Because yes, you have your core game, but you know, little stuff like, you know, the fact that you can just pull out the pistol and just shoot, you know what I'm saying, in the middle of combat. Like, you know, little things like that. And the story is just the story. The story is just fantastic. Like you said, Persona 5 is probably one of my favorite games. Like, I've always loved the series from like this to when it started out, you know, as Shin Megami Tensei. I'm like, you know, words. But
Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, sir. But yeah, because I think the first like technical Persona 5 came out in like 96 on the PS1. So that should also let you know like how long it's been going. It's just really started to like hit its stride over here. But you know, instead over there in Japan and stuff, it's like one of the biggest games. But yeah, I don't care. It's my list. I can do whatever I want to do with it. So my number 5 game is Persona 5 Royale, and I have put, I think the last time I checked, 232 hours into it. So yeah, that's to let you know how much I enjoy that game. That's the joke, too.
Jeez. Man, I think I'm 40 hours in on mine. Jeez. Oh, wow.
Man, I guess I ain't got no life. But yeah, that game's fantastic.
Very well said. So for my number 4, this is a game that I've recently just started putting some man hours into. So it was honestly going to be lower, but I played it when it came out, and then I took a little break because some other stuff came out, mainly Cyberpunk. And I started playing it probably the Monday before Christmas. And that is going to be Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was on your list. So the thing about this, which is probably the reason why I really love Odyssey, the new Assassin's Creed games, and when I say new, I mean like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, the Witcher-fied versions. These are also what I kind of would like to call comfort gaming, because it basically is just like, all right, once you get to the part where basically the game opens up and you can kind of go and do whatever, it's just like, all right, here you go. You can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this. It's basically just, get lost in the world. And I will give Ubisoft, how you want to say their name, their credit. Whenever they recreate these historical landmarks or historical areas in these Assassin's Creed games, they are done so beautifully and so well. I was, blessed enough to be able to get a PS5 when it came out. So playing this game on the PS5 is way more fun, or way more, it runs really well on the PS5, I would say that, because I played it on the PS4, and then like 2 days later the PS5 came out, so I was like, all right, I can play it on there. Runs more smoothly, definitely looks better. But I was kind of like you, when I first started playing the game, I was like, man, this combat feels really slow and jagged. Like, I didn't know if that was just me. I didn't know if it's because like I was in the beginning of the game, so I hadn't leveled up my character yet. But yeah, I can kind of see now that I've gotten deeper into it, unlock some of the different weapons. Yo, the 2-hand melee perk,
bruh,
boy, you want to talk about feeling like a badass. Like, I seen that, I was like, all right, let me reset my skills. Just put all my points to get to that. Like, just wielding 2 axes is just so good, especially when you can time the attacks right. Yeah, overall, like I said, this is kind of the same thing I kind of had with whatchamacallit? Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Okay.
Because this takes place in Norse mythology. I actually just beat the 2018 God of War like in October, so I was kind of Freya'd out, Odin'd out at that point. And then when this was coming out, I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to get ready to hear about Thor and Odin and all these other people for like another 100 hours. But honestly, after the first beginning part, it's here or there, but it's not like just shoved in your face like it is in other games. But overall, I am enjoying the game. Just going from place to place, doing missions, doing raids, feeling like a badass Viking, just going in. It's like, all right, give me all your stuff. Oh, it's a church? I don't care. Give me all your stuff. Where's your gold doubloons at? And the building aspect of it, of like, making your little town Raventhorpe and everything, it's pretty cool that you can get, stuff and go there. But overall, it's one of those fun games. I honestly, I feel like with these style of Assassin's Creed games, they may not be games that I beat right away or even in the same year that I get them, but they are going to be games that I do go back to and play just because of the polish that's in them, and then also just the amount of stuff that you can get lost in, where you don't really have to like think too much about it, more or less. You kind of just like aimlessly go through it. Now, one thing I will say, if I'm not mistaken, I do think this game is a little bit shorter than Odyssey.
It is.
But what I kind of hope, well, let me ask you this. You said you already beat the story, right?
Yeah.
How many hours did it take you?
Well, you also got to remember I do a bunch of side stuff, but I want to say, I think like 30 something hours, if I'm not mistaken. I got to go back and look at my save app.
Okay, 30 hours.
It's significantly shorter, but the world is a lot bigger though.
Okay. That's what I was gonna say. I kind of hope in future iterations of this, I really hope that they do streamline the game more to where you can get, at least as far as the main story goes, get it within like 30, 40 hours and not have to spend like 100 hours. Cause I mean, in Odyssey, I beat the main story and then I went and did the cult, and then I went and did the 4 Atlantis things. And I think after all that, I was like at 170 hours.
Yeah, you sound about right.
Which, if that can somehow be like streamlined and like, given those are kind of like 3 separate things you can do in the game, I would be happy with those at like 60 hours.
70
hours. Yeah, 70 hours tops. But at least have it more streamlined to where I don't have to like, you know, kind of do all this. It is kind of like a gift and a curse because I kind of do like the busy work because it's just more stuff to do. But also it's like at a certain point when, you know, of doing side stuff in the game, you kind of get to a point it's like, all right, I kind of just want to go through the story. Especially in these type of games, you got to make sure that you hit the level cap so that you don't get those red skull enemies because...
Yeah, like them that fast, yeah.
They do, but overall, definitely enjoy the game. Look forward to playing more of it this year, but that's my number 4, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
So just one more thing about Assassin's Creed Valhalla that kind of annoyed me. The Eagle Vision was dumb. Like, to be honest with you, the Eagle Vision was kind of pointless to me in this. I didn't like the way they used it in this. Like, I got it, but they give you like a general area. Like, even when, you know, whatever pops up, it's just a general area. It's not even like exactly where it's supposed to be at. So I didn't really like the Eagle Vision on this one.
So I have a question. When you do the Eagle thing, so you know, like in Odyssey and Origins, when like, say you're at an enemy camp, you call up the Eagle, and then you can press the L2 button, and you can like hover over enemies, and it marks them?
Yeah.
Does that do that for you? Or do you have to like turn it on in the settings menu?
You gotta like turn on the settings menu and do a lot of stuff manually and you gotta like focus in on who or what you're exactly looking at. Like, honestly, the Eagle system sucks. I'm not even like,
okay.
So even you probably doing it right, it just sucks. Like, that's just really all it came down to. It could have been way better than what it was. Like, I just feel like it's inconsistent.
Okay, because I was trying to make sure I wasn't tripping because, like, when I first played the game, I was like, all right, let me go to this base. All right, I see enemies here. Let me call my Eagle up. And I was, like, hovering over him. I was like, all right, this should, like, put his level and some over his head so I can know where he's at. All right, that's not working. I guess I'll just continuously keep holding down the right trigger to see where everybody's at every couple of minutes.
Because it's supposed to highlight whenever you come into contact either with like an enemy or a chest or, you know, somebody got kidnapped. You know, it's supposed to highlight as soon as you know what I'm saying, discover that area, but it doesn't always work.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Duly noted.
So my number 4 game is a game that you didn't get a chance to play, but Spider-Man Miles Morales is my number 4 game. And to be honest with you, everything that people loved about the Marvel Spider-Man game on PS4, you can add that to this. You know what I'm saying? I think they did it's not a sequel per se. It's honestly, even when the game was first announced, I called it DLC. You know, Spider-Man DLC, because that's basically what it is. It's a full price DLC game. But the money is very well worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I played it on the PS4, but I've seen like the PS5, you know what I'm saying? And it looks amazing when, you know, all the ray tracing and all that. So I'm pretty sure it looks spectacular. So whenever you do get to play it, let me know, because I definitely want to like know your thoughts on that. But I mean, look, like you said, if you're a fan of Miles Morales, this was the perfect way to introduce him. You know what I'm saying? It's a good job of like differentiating like him as Spider-Man from Peter. I mean, you probably seen it, so I guess it's not really a spoiler. There, you do team up with good old Peter Parker on a mission, so that's always good. I like the fact that his swinging, you know what I'm saying, his combat style, it feels completely different. You know what I'm saying? Like when you think about swinging around with Peter on Spider, you know, the Marvel Spider-Man on PS4, you know, it's fluent, you know what I'm saying? He's in control, but with Miles, since he's like still kind of getting used to his powers, like on Into the Spider-Verse, like he's kind of swinging kind of wild and stuff like that's how they got him. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to them for having the, you know, Into the Spider-Verse jump off the top of the buildings too. So that's costumes, fantastic. Game, fantastic. Story, fantastic. So yeah, man, kudos to y'all. It'll be interesting to see where y'all go next. You know, I mean, when you think about the end of Spider-Man, you know, Miles told him that, you know, he had powers. So I'm pretty sure when they do make another Spider-Man game, Miles will be in it in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully playable. But, you know, even if it's like a team-up situation, that's cool too. But yeah, man, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, that is my number 4 game.
I have a quick question. So like I don't know if you want to say the secret ending of the original Spider-Man with Osborn, is that talked about or hinted at any time in this game?
Yeah, it's hinted at.
Okay.
It's, yeah, like certain things kind of weave into each other for a little bit. So yeah, that's hinted at. And when you think about the Osborn that Miles Morales fought, yeah, that's it'll be pretty interesting to see how that shapes up, you know what I'm saying, in video game form.
Got you. Okay, I just want to know. So the reason why I haven't actually really played it. So what happened is on Christmas Eve, my wife had her niece and nephew over here. Like the niece is 18, the nephew's 16. So you know, I'm like, all right, you know, hey, have my PS5, play whatever you want. He was like, yo, can I play Spider-Man? She was like, all right. So she bought it. So Christmas Eve and Christmas night, I'm stuck in this room because he, you know, 16-year-old teenager, stay up till like 5, 6 a.m. He basically beats the game in like a day and a half. So I'm sitting in here, headphones on, trying not to hear any spoilers. So I'm going out there, I'm like covering my eyes, putting my headphones on, making sure I don't hear anything, just to make sure, because I'm glad I got the game now because of that, but I'm also like, I tried my best. I saw a couple of things. I didn't see anything really story related, but I did see a couple of early boss fights, which I already knew because they were in the trailers. So that's not that big of a deal, but I am definitely excited to play that. I'm gonna try to hopefully knock that out by the end of the month. So my number 3.
This is where it gets real.
This is where it gets real. I know this game is going to be in your top 3. I'm very interested to see where it's at in your top 3. So this game, everybody has been waiting for. Very, very highly, I guess you say hyped up, sought after game. In my opinion, it definitely delivered. Is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, y'all know me. I love Final Fantasy. My favorite Final Fantasy is 8. So I really wanted this game to do well because I want what's done to this game to be done to Final Fantasy 8. Not that remaster stuff that we got last year, which I appreciated, you know, having Squall, you know, up-res in the 1080, even though all the other background characters weren't, just the main characters. That's fine. I'm happy with that. But what they done to this game, I want you to do to Final Fantasy 8, maybe even 9, and we'll talk about 10 later, since that was a PS2 game. But Final Fantasy VII Remake did something that I'm probably sure nobody expected them to do. It was a remake and a sequel at the same time. It basically took everything from Final Fantasy VII, at least the Midgar section, fleshed out Midgar, beautiful city. You know, you get more time with Barrett, with Tifa, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. They actually have important parts in the story. You get to meet different people, all this other stuff. You want to know what I love most about this game?
What's good?
So Final Fantasy VII, was done back in a time where it didn't have voice acting, so you kind of had to just go off the words and the reactions on screens. I was so happy to actually see like Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Barrett, everybody just interact in modern age time. Because you said Barrett what?
Barrett is such an a-hole.
He is, very much so. I expected him to be that, but the way he is just like, oh, cool. But kind of the way that you just see like the transformation of Cloud from the start of the game to the end of the game, and just seeing like he's basically just like a merc. He's like, yo, I'm just here for the money. Like when they were on the bombing run, you know, Wedge and Jesse Biggs would be like, hey, good job, Cloud. Yeah, I don't like any of y'all. Where's my money?
Yeah, basically.
And the combat, just chef's kiss. It's what I really want, and I really hope other action RPG games steal this. I want that combat in Tales games. Like that same exact combat. Controller. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that ATB combat system is just so well done, bro.
It is. It's so well. And it's just the fact that you can control your character. You can do this. You can do this. You can tell your other character to do this. This was I actually forgot to say this. This was one of my gripes about Trials of Mana. So Trials of Mana is real-time combat, but the thing that sucks about it is like you can't really tell the other two characters what to do when you're controlling one character. Like you can tell them to do spells, but it's not like Final Fantasy where like you can tell them, hey, do this regular attack, or hey, like if you want to heal, you gotta do it on the person that you're on. You can't really just heal another person unless you switch to them, if that makes sense. But with the Final Fantasy VII remake, like I want that battle system. I don't care if you just call it the same thing. Just action RPGs with turn-based going forward. Just steal it. It's just steal it. Overall, I really enjoyed the game. The music is amazing in the game. The story is amazing. Like it's kind of the thing because I've never really played the original Final Fantasy VII, but I've watched so many videos, heard so many people talk about it that I know what happens in the story. So to see it recreated this way is really amazing. Also, when you get introduced into Sephiroth, it's, I don't know. I feel like they found a way to make Sephiroth more mysterious this game than they did in the original, because at certain points you can't tell if he's real or not. You can't tell what's real, which I guess was one of the things that Cloud had to deal with due to certain things in the original. The only negatives I can really say about the game, there's a couple of later chapters I feel like could have been taken out or trimmed. I didn't really mind that much just because I really enjoyed the gameplay of it. I'm trying to think what else. That's really the only negative thing I can really say about the game is that I did most of the side stuff. I think there are ultimate weapons in the game, right?
Yeah, they are.
I didn't get a chance. I didn't really sit around to get those, but I got pretty much like the one below the best weapon for each character. Also, screw that pull-up challenge. I swear that thing is rigged on higher difficulties. I kid you not. When I first unlocked it, I sat in the living room. My wife will attest to this. I sat in the living room for like 2 hours trying to beat it on hard mode. And the thing about it is, like, you know, once you get kind of up there, it goes away. So you got to keep it rhythm. And I was just sitting there and I was like, yo, like, I kept it on rhythm. Also, I would like to note that I was in the it's probably more now, but when the game first came out, I was in the 4% to get that trophy for Jesse on the bike minigame.
Yeah.
I spent about 2 hours trying to get that too. I was like, wait a minute, there's a trophy that only 3% of the people got this? Hold on, let me etch my name into history here. But yeah, overall, amazing game. I'm really interested to see where the sequel is gonna go. If they're going to, I actually don't even really know, given the ending of the game, which I won't really spoil, but it's kind of what I'm really excited and also what I'm kind of worried about. I'm excited because I want to see where this goes. I want to see how they're going to differentiate the story from the original. I'm also scared because this is Square and also Kingdom Hearts 3 is a thing. So,
wow. Took something so positive and just getting
that was the first thing I thought of when I saw the sequel. When I saw the ending, I was like, yo, this could go to some really cool and crazy places. Also, this is the same company that released Kingdom Hearts 3 last year. And we all know how convoluted the Kingdom Hearts story can get. So if I start seeing Clouds and Aeris and Barris with X's in their names and black hoods and trench coats, I don't know. But overall, that's my number 3 game of the year, Final Fantasy Remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I like it. I like it. My number 3 is one of those original IPs that I mentioned earlier. Ghost of Tsushima for the PS4. This game is freaking fantastic. In my opinion, it did a very good job as far as like making you feel like a samurai. You gotta say it like that whenever you talk. That's how they say it every time. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, look, the story basically follows Jin. You know, his uncle got kidnapped. Squad got murked. Long story short, and you basically trying to get your uncle back and get revenge on, you know, another kind. That's really all I got. You know, it's another kind. But gameplay wise, like the sword play was well done. Like once you get the parrying system down, that and the I forgot what it was called, but you know, you can slice up different people at one time. You know, slice up multiple people. I forgot what it was called, but
the ghost mode.
Yeah. So once you get those mechanics down, the game will be a breeze. Now, my main gripe was the fact that I will be the first to admit, after a while, it did get kind of repetitive. So I'm not just gonna sit here and be like it was perfect. Like it did get repetitive at times, but y'all just better be happy y'all got enough outfits and weapons and things to do to kind of like distract you from that. But you know, like after a while, you kind of like tired of chasing foxes around to their fox shrine just so you can, you know, upgrade it. Honestly, I sent you a picture of mine. I got everything. I got all like everything's upgraded. Now shout out to them for adding. I haven't just really sat down with the multiplayer mode as much as I would like to.
Same.
But the part that I did play, I enjoyed it. Also, definitely got to play it with a friend because if you go in there solo, life gonna come at you real fast. But my number 3 game is Ghost of Tsushima, and I am really intrigued to see what your 1 and 2 is.
So I want to ask you something. I know you said you got everything. Did you get the I guess the Easter egg outfits?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got those too.
I found one and I was like, I'm gonna go get the other ones. It's like, oh, I haven't unlocked that chapter yet. And then when I got there, I just totally forgot about it. I mean, it didn't look that cool to begin with, but I was just like, oh, that's because, you know, when I found the infamous one and I was like, man, that looks super familiar. And then I looked it up on Google. I was like, oh, okay. Very nice. But yeah, so as far as my number 2, I'll just go ahead and roll into it. It is Ghost of Tsushima as well. Kind of the same sentiments that you have. Amazing game, beautiful game. Like I said, so this game took me a little bit to get into, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around the mechanics. But once you, like you said, once you did, and you get the fighting mechanics down, and remember which stance you're supposed to be in for each enemy, because I was like, wait a minute, I just did it by the way he held the sword. So I was like, all right, the high sword, we use those for the spear people. The low sword, we use those for one-on-ones. I can't tell you how many of those, what are the dudes called? The straw hat one-on-one battles. Like the first one I did, I was in the wrong stance the whole time. And I was just like, man, he shouldn't be this hard to beat. And I was like, oh, you got to go to the neutral stance.
Yeah.
And then I beat him in like 2 tries after that. But yeah, overall, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it doesn't do anything like outstanding per se, like, you know, revolutionary, but it does everything really well. Like, there's nothing that I would say overall, there's nothing it really does bad. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Towards the end of this game, the boss battle before the final fight, if that was the final fight of the game, this game probably would have been like number 7 for me. Because I was just like, yo, that's how this is gonna end.
I thought so too, I ain't gonna even lie.
I was like, man, like this can't be how it ends. And then the final fight happens, which I get that. Honestly, I feel like, and maybe just because I'm not aware of like how the Shogun, does things, but kind of what Jin did, in effect, like I honestly kind of feel like that final fight didn't have to happen to a certain extent, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Is like old traditions and old heads stuck in their ways. Is what I'll describe it as. But yeah, chasing the foxes, getting the shrines, doing all the bamboos, upgrading everything. This is if you're like one of those people who like to meticulously check off lists of just stuff to do, this is definitely it. Side characters, side stories were just amazing in this.
Yeah, bro.
The Archer story, when I did the final mission, I was just like, all right, that makes sense. Lady Masako, Jesus Christ, that was
rough.
That was
rough.
That was from start to finish. That was rough. I mean, hell, even Noe's story. Yeah, his was really good. Like the main and side characters were done really well in this game. Like I said, the only thing I can really say is, like you said, it does get a bit repetitive. By the time I unlocked the third part or the third location, like the end game location, I was kind of just ready to kind of just, blast through it and, finish the game. So I did kind of have to power through that. Other than that, if you like mixing clothes and color coordinating, I can't tell you how many times I just went around just collecting flowers so I can unlock new skins and new outfits. Color coordinated everything, my sword to my gi to, my hat, the mask that I had on. Like everything had to be color coordinated. But yeah, overall, like I said, I like you. I haven't touched the multiplayer at all. I do want to play it just to try to test it out, see how it is. But yeah, overall, a great game. I'm really interested to see if this will just be kind of like a one-off or if there'll be a sequel.
I will say this, not to cut you off. There was in history another Mongol invasion that took place, I want to say like 10, 15 years after the events of the first game. So if there is a sequel, maybe we'll get like an older gen, trying to go through the second part of the Mongol invasion. So I'm assuming that's what they would go with the sequel, but obviously I could be wrong.
Got you. Okay. But that's my number 2, Ghost of Tsushima.
So my number 2 game is a game that I am still playing right now. Yakuza Like a Dragon, fam. Like, so look, you know me, so you should already know my number 1 is. But when I beat this game, I text you immediately and told you this is easily a top 5 game of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the story, that chapter 13.
Jesus.
Look, man. I am not ashamed to admit that I had to take a break and I shed a thug tear because as soon as you was feeling at your highest, they kick you in the nuts and put you right at your lowest, like instantly, fam, with a voicemail at that. I love Ichiban, fam. Like, he is a good change of pace from, the Always series, Kiryu Kazuma. And I think that's like one reason why I like Goro so much. He was wild and out there. So, I don't really know what to say. If you've played a Yakuza game, it has all the typical, crazy side missions and shenanigans like that. Shout out to the part-time hero missions. Those are hilarious. The kart racing, awesome. I love it. The combat, it went to the turn-based RPG style. I was a little concerned when they did that, but considering the personality of Ichiban, considering like he basically sees everything as a Dragon Quest game, it fits into like the personality of the character. So I think that's why the RPG style works best for like Ichiban. You know what I'm saying? And like the open world action brawler works better for Kiryu. So shout out to them for that. The side characters, you know, I got so much enjoyment. I don't want to spoil the ending, but just know, man, Adachi, I'm glad you got yours, B. I am definitely glad you got yours because you went through the ringer, fam. So I mean, yeah, the story is typical Yakuza. It takes you through all the twists and turns. Screw y'all for chapter 13. Screw y'all for that ending because the ending literally came out of nowhere, and not in a bad way though. But it was just like one of them, like, oh, okay. Then one of them, you gotta hit the Weebay from the wire. That's like when it happened, I was just like, I had to put my hand over my mouth, like, what? So I mean, yeah, man, I could really like spend a lot of time talking about Yakuza Like a Dragon, but you know, I ain't gonna do that to you. So, but yeah, man, my number 2 game of 2020, man, is Yakuza Like a Dragon. I've started my new game Plus mode, and I will say this. Them enemies is hard as hell.
I can imagine. I can only imagine.
They're starting off at level 50.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, So get your level up in your first playthrough. That's all I'll say.
Well, yeah. Well, for my number 1, I will say this is a game that I was excited for. I'm not gonna lie. Looking at the games on this list, I did not expect this to be my number 1. I expected it to at least be top 5, maybe top 3, but I didn't expect it to be number 1 until I completed it. And that is your number 2, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Yakuza 7. I'm a huge fan of the Yakuza series, even though the only one I've played is 0 and completed. A little bit of 1, little bit of 6, but I've seen bits and pieces of like all the games, but I've always felt like they've always had amazing writing in these games, which I really, you know, like and come for. Lovable characters, things like that. So with this game, when this game got announced, I was like, cool. And then when I saw it was coming out in Japan, it wasn't coming to the US till this year, I was like, all right, we gotta wait. So yeah, I kind of just, you know, have the same feelings you have for this game. Kasuga is definitely, I hope they do another 7 games on him like they did with Kiryu, because
I agree.
The thing I really love about these games, and the thing I really had fun with this game, and then also Judgment, the spinoff as well, which I really enjoyed that game last year. I love the buildup they have before the boss fights. Like, I don't know, it's something that I really loved in the Persona games. And this one as well is like just the build up to be like, all right, there's this enemy did this thing. You're the character. I'm about to beat the crap out of you. And then just the banter that happens, then the music plays, and then the little aura stuff happens. And this happens all in this. Kasuga, I was a little iffy on him at first, but probably around chapter 4, chapter 5 is when I really fell in love with his character. I just like how, I don't know, how can I say this? I like how animated he is, how relatable he is. Like, don't get me wrong, Kiryu is an amazing character as well, but he's just stoic, stone face, you know, Mr.
Like,
right. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he's like Superman, fam.
Exactly. Like, basically, he's like Superman. It's like, all right, we know that he's this unstoppable thing. And then Kasuga comes in and he's like...
He's flawed.
Yeah, he's flawed. Like, you know, and the thing about it, he's flawed to a certain degree to where he'll, you know, basically for the course of the story, he's still holding on to this fact. It's like, yo, my boss wants to see me, even though he did 18 years in prison, gets shot by the dude that he went to go see, and then he does his whole trip thing to get back. And you know, I love the writing in this game. Turn-based combat, I was actually really excited for. I was really interested to see how they would do it. Turns out really well. Has the job class, kind of like older Final Fantasy, so you can get certain jobs on certain characters. Of course, you have base stats on those characters, so certain jobs fit them better than they do other characters, but you do get a nice plethora to choose from. A nice different varying cast of characters that you get as well. I think you get 7 total, with one being a secret that you got to do a mini game to unlock. Yeah, I actually recommended this to a friend who was like, hey, is Yakuza, because I tweeted something after I beat the game. It was like, man, Yakuza Like a Dragon is like my top 5 game of the year. And he was like, hey, is that game really good? And I was like, if you like really well written games and turn-based RPG, buy this game, no doubt. The only issue, and it's a small issue, it's one I don't really mind because this is a JRPG and this is kind of known in JRPGs. I think it is chapter 13 when you go to Sotobori. Is that 12 or 13? I
think it's 12.
Yeah.
I think it's 12 or 13. It's one of those, though, because that's when it kind of like start getting real.
Yeah, so basically, for y'all that plan to play this game, by the time you get to chapter 12 or 13, try to at least be level 40, because there is a huge... 12? Okay, there is a huge level jump where basically at the end of 12, you can be, I think I was like level 32, 33. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I read ahead a little bit just because I like to, you know, not really spoil myself, but know what's coming up. If you just go through the main story starting on 13, you start facing people level 50 and 60 and quite possibly have next to the next to last boss fight in chapter 13, you quite possibly have the hardest fight in the whole game, or at least in the main story game. And when I say I was the same level, if not 1 or 2 levels higher than this character, and it still took me like 2 or 3 times, like an hour to beat him just because plot reasons. We'll leave it at that. I was just like, I knew this fight was gonna happen because I read about it, and I was like, all right, cool. Nah, that and the thing about it, like, he has a weakness. It don't matter.
No, it don't.
It don't. Once I found out his weakness, I was like, all right, this type of attack, it was doing nothing, and I was just like, But besides that little gripe that I have, the little bit of grinding that you have to do in level 12 and 13 to get to a respectable level to where you don't have to, like, you know, just get the floor mop with you the whole time. I definitely overall like the game. I am kind of interested to see with Kasuga if this is the way that they're going to do all his games. Right. Or they'll go back to like a more traditional beat 'em up style. Because I mean, we're all going to assume he's going to get a sequel or he's going to get more games. I mean, heck, there's a chapter in the game called Passing the Torch, which essentially verifies that Kasuga is like the new main protagonist for the Yakuza series. So, as I said, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. But yeah, overall, the story, the gameplay, the music, the mini games. Like I said, if you played any of the Yakuza games, if you're a fan of turn-based RPGs, or if you don't mind turn-based RPG gameplay, definitely play this game. You will not be disappointed.
Also, shout out to Pound Mates. So I'm just gonna say, Pound Mates are their version of summonings, you know what I'm saying, in this game. So there are a bunch of different kinds. You do unlock the majority of them through side missions. So you kind of run across some like just naturally as you're playing the game, but like the majority of like the other ones, because it's a few that I've gotten that I was like, oh, okay, wasn't expecting that. But just real quick though, before I give my, you know what it is anyway. But before I move on to my number, I want to say this though, and I want to give both them and Ghost of Tsushima props because the English voice acting on both games are so well done, which, especially with Yakuza games, considering I think maybe the first one was the only one that was like predominantly in English.
So the original one on PS2 had an English because it had like a bunch of really well-known actors at the time. Yeah. And I think the only other one is Judgment that came out last year. Everything else is just in Japanese.
So, which is fine because, you know, I don't mind reading subtitles. I watch anime. But the voice acting, man, with everybody, I had not one complaint. Oh, speaking of voice acting, shout out to David Hayter as the voice of the bartender in Yakuza, aka Solid Snake. That's what David Hayter. You know, he does the voice of Solid Snake, and yeah, man, that just tripped me all the way out. But
yeah, and also shout out to oh my god, I forget which character it is now. Oh, Zhao for having the voice actor from Akechi. I was about to say Adachi. Akechi from Persona 5, and once I figured that out, I basically heard him the whole game now.
yes, I ain't gonna lie. Now when I go back and play it, that's all I'm gonna be thinking about. See, look at that too. My favorite. See, it's crazy how these games be intertwining with each other sometimes. But yeah,
I'm gonna mean to cut you off again. Some I actually found out. Apparently, a lot of the voice actors in like these type of games do a bunch of voices, because like him, he was in a bunch of other like video games, not like mainstream video games, but like other like Japanese style video games that came out the past couple years.
Hey, look, if all I gotta do is just talk on the microphone, give me that check. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Could a voiceover check. So, no drum roll, but my number one game is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Look, when we even agreed to do this list, my boy Mike already knew this was gonna be in my top 3 regardless. So, like you said, you just wanted to see, you know, what it was gonna be. But yeah, this is definitely my number one game of 2020. Like I said, the original came out too damn long ago. We'll just, you know, we'll say that. And this has been rumored for years. I'm not even gonna look. Everything you said was true. You know, the fighting system, the story was well done. They did take liberties with the story, considering when you think about how small of a part, you know what I'm saying, that was in the original Final Fantasy VII, and for them to make a whole game out of it, I mean, what more can you say? You know, the game is beautiful, the combat is beautiful. Like you said, just seeing the character progression with everybody involved, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, I didn't get the scene that I wanted to see with Sephiroth, but I'm assuming we're gonna get that in the sequel.
I mean, technically, you kind of did.
Well,
even though plot armor happened in it.
So that's why I'm saying I didn't really get what I wanted. But I'm like you though with the ending. I'm intrigued to see, because it looks like, so they did switch some things between the original and this one. I mean, they kind of had to. And like I said, the original came out, 96, 97? So, you know, they could take liberties with like a lot of stuff. They kind of also paid homage to the original ending and story when it came to the end of this game. That's where your issue come in at, because what I don't want to happen is like a Cloud Prime. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. Like Mickey Mouse come out of nowhere and be like, Cloud, you got to meet this other dude who does this Keyblade thing to stop Sephiroth. And I was like, all right, let's not do that.
Yeah. So, but I don't think they will, especially with Final Fantasy, especially like with this one. You know what I'm saying? And they did say that they are going to be making a Final Fantasy VIII remake, just like they did with 7. So I am definitely excited about that. There's really nothing more I can say about this game that hasn't been said already. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you, this was my game of the year. You know, Jeff Keighley, y'all definitely got it wrong. I don't care. But yeah, man, this game was just fantastic, considering like the hype and the build for it. Like, in my opinion, there's not a lot of games, especially like recently, that we've seen that's been in production and talks for like years, close to a decade, and it meets those expectations. This is definitely one of them. Final Fantasy VII Remake is fantastic. I can't wait for part 2. Just give me a Final Fantasy 16. Just use that combat system. I don't care what y'all do.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep that combat system, and I'm pretty sure y'all will be just fine. You know what I'm saying? Moving forward. Yeah, and I just like the camaraderie with, you know what I'm saying, everybody, with Cloud, Tifa, you know what I'm saying, Barrett. So it was just so well done, man. Just, yeah, man. My number one is Final Fantasy VII Remake. It was just so awesome and so amazing, and I couldn't even tell you how many hours I put into that game. You my witness. Every time you probably see me on PS4, all I was playing
I'm trying to think how many hours I had into it. Let me pull up my list here. Try to be.
I think when I originally beat it, I sent it to you, but like that was a while ago. So, but all I know is, man, the weapons on there is fantastic. Oh, don't get it twisted. This game does get really difficult.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. Towards the end, yeah. Especially if you ain't leveled up or gotten the right materia or weapons or armor. I had about 43 hours in it.
Ah, okay. I think I was like at least 68 my last time I checked. But like I said, that was a minute ago. But yeah, man, this game is so beautiful, bro.
Oh,
that's really all the way to discuss. This game is just so beautiful. And Barry is one of the biggest a-holes of all time, but he's still my boy though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we kind of knew that, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, we did. But like you said though, it's different hearing them say the words and like seeing the actual reactions instead of like just reading it on text and hitting X to skip it. You know what I'm saying? When you get tired of reading. So yeah, man. Shout out to Final Fantasy VII Remake, man. That was definitely the best game that I played in 2020.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I said, with my top 3 with Yakuza, Ghost, and Final Fantasy, it honestly could have been a toss-up between the 3 of them. Low-key, I kind of think Yakuza is number 1 because it's the most recent one that I beat, but who knows if I would have played these in a different order or if they would have came out at different times, they all could have been honestly swapped out vice versa for each one, but
I don't know though, because think about it, I beat Final Fantasy VII way before Yakuza came out, and you know, that's still my number 1.
That's true. I can agree with that because I still do think Yakuza is probably the best story I've experienced all year.
That I will agree with. It takes you on a roller coaster. That's like the best way to describe it. But you do feel like a sense of accomplishment, like when you kind of see like each run, like finally like coming to his own character wise. You know, he got pissed.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, yeah, bro, it was. You couldn't go wrong with either one of those. Like, yeah, I can literally just sit here and do a video about those 3 games, like by themselves, to be honest.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, as I said, those are our top 10 games. As I said, it was a great year for games amid everything else going on. You know, different things happening, the new consoles coming out, the whole, you know, mess that those launches and pre-orders were. You know, overall there was a lot of good quality games, and honestly I feel like some games that'll definitely stand the test of time as far as being regarded as probably, you know, some of the best games ever, or at least some of the best games in this console generation. Like I said, hopefully 2021 has the same thing. I'm not gonna lie, I honestly haven't really been paying attention to stuff that's supposed to come out this year, so usually I like to wait till like February before I start looking for stuff coming out this year.
I mean, they said God of War coming out this year. Y'all know dang well God of War ain't coming out this year. I'll see you 2022. That's all I'll say about God of War.
Unless it's like a Miles Morales DLC.
I mean, it is named Ragnarok, so considering how I mean, if you ain't beat it already, then that's y'all fault. Look, yeah. At the end, you know what I'm saying, of God of War, basically had like a little post-credit scene a la, you know, some Marvel stuff. And, you know, basically Kratos is beefing with Thor right now. Well, Thor is beefing with Kratos right now.
Yeah, because he killed one of his sons.
And rightfully so. I mean,
and his brother.
Yeah. You know, light comes at you fast. But, so yeah, the next game will be entitled Ragnarok, and it is going to be interesting. I mean, they kind of teased it throughout the whole game, though, you know, with the statues, you know, stuff like that. It's going to encounter eventually.
Yeah, I would say that's probably my most disappointing thing about that game is that you did not get a chance to fight Thor. Because I was like, as soon as I heard Thor, I think I remember I texted you and I was like, because I think you were further ahead. I was like, yo, they just talked about Thor. Are we going to get Kratos versus an Avenger? He was like, no.
So I had that same excitement, and you know, I was disappointed first. So you know,
you know what would be really cool? I'm probably sure this would not happen in a million years. It would be really cool if like in Ragnarok, you know, Thor is like the main bad guy or antagonist of the game, and they use the Marvel version.
Bruh. Now that would be hilarious, especially considering it is on PlayStation. Like, hey, you know,
Like
PlayStation.
Sony
Yep.
Santa Monica, just cut Marvel that check. Just be like, look, we won't. It'll be gruesome, but it won't be too gruesome.
Right, you know, it won't look exactly like your boy Chris, but you know what I'm saying? It'll be some likenesses there. He won't be Fat Thor. That's all. They'd be like, yeah, he won't be Fat Thor. You know, it won't be just too obvious. And we know he in the game anyway, so why not?
Exactly. But yeah, but like I said, overall, I feel like it was a good year for games. Do you have any closing remarks or anything before we wrap up the video?
Nah, like I said, considering everything that happened last year, you know, with the pandemic and, you know, obviously production and stuff like that for video games was gonna be a little bit more difficult. That's why like certain games like Cyberpunk, I would give them a slight pass only because of that part and, you know, the pressure that they was receiving. But I wasn't just like I said, I mean, I'm enjoying the game, so I wasn't as outraged. But overall though, I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. You know, we do got the new gen consoles now with the PS5 and the Xbox, you know, One Series S, X, all all that good stuff. So I want to see how Vengeance is gonna turn out. I do want to see Ghost of Tsushima on PS5. I still haven't really like just been able to like play that on PS5. It's really what I want to do. Like that's kind of like why I haven't like went back and played it again, because I want to see it on like the PS5. So we got that Batman Gotham Knights game that's supposed to come out this year. I'm really looking forward to that. That and Deathloop, I would say, are probably two of my most anticipated games of like this year if they actually do come out though. So that and Ratchet and Clank, because you know I am a big Ratchet and Clank fan. So if I don't have a PS5 by then, they should have like if they got like a bundle for Ratchet and Clank, that's when I'm getting my PS5 when that game come out. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm just looking forward to seeing what's next for 2021 game wise.
Yeah, like I said, same here. Definitely looking forward to that Ratchet and Clank, and I think the new Horizon is supposed to come out this year as well. So, you know, definitely those two. Other than that, just seeing what updates we'll get to Cyberpunk. Hopefully it can, be in a more stable state on all platforms, but also, have the bugs and glitches fixed. Honestly, I haven't ran into too many. The floating glitch, I think, did I tell you this? I had a cutscene, the cutscene where you first meet Johnny Silverhand and his hair and head disappeared.
No, you did not.
Oh, okay. I must have been talking to my brother then. But yeah, I was just like, the cutscene happens where like he first comes out. I was like, oh, hey, Keanu, how you doing? And then like he went bald and I was like, oh, and then his head disappeared. And then you're just talking to him without a head. And I was just like, that's...
Skip this cutscene.
Yeah. Luckily, it was like towards the end of the cutscene. So I was just like, all right. But other than that, I haven't really had any issues, but I'm definitely interested.
My bad. One more thing. The Mass Effect remaster.
Oh yeah, which is coming out in March.
Please and thank you.
Did they put
release
a release
that? Last time I checked, it was March, but it's BioWare, EA, so things can change. But definitely looking forward to that. Mainly because I want to see how y'all fix the terrible driving missions with the Mako on Mass Effect 1. Like, really, all they need to do is just give us the Mass Effect 3 combat with 1 and 2, and then boom, easy breeze. And hopefully y'all can do something with that ending again of Mass Effect 3, since y'all are already going in tinkering with it anyway. Give us like an actual ending, because that ain't it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely. I'm gonna have to save up some more PTO for when that comes out, because that's definitely calling in. That comes out. All right. Hopefully my manager doesn't see this video. Other than that, yeah, like I said, hopefully here's to 2021 being as a good gaming year as it is. I'm probably sure outside of gaming, everything will, hopefully start to get back to a little bit of normalcy. As I said, if you want to check out me or Dom's content, I'll put both of our links, descriptions, all that good stuff in the description down below. I appreciate y'all for watching, and happy gaming for 2021.